Hello, hello, hello. Good evening. Good evening, staffingpreneurs. How is everyone doing today? So, welcome to wow, we're in week 4 already. And I think it's really important that we are really taking movements, taking steps. Who has done their business plan? Who has done their their vision and also the template for the business plan, the spreadsheet that was sent to you? Put in the comments whether you got the business plan, whether you got the spreadsheet, and what actions you've taken. Share it with the group, in the group, for the 5-week challenge. So welcome everyone. I'm Christine Crowell and I hope everyone is doing well. We have started. It is now 7 p.m. UK time, should I say. So I hope that everybody is enjoying so far of the training, the live training that we are doing. And yes, you can hear me clearly. Thank you so much. Thank you, team. I just want to say thank you so much for joining and being a part of this. This is the first beta program that we've got for the 5-week challenge for starting a staffing agency. And you know what? I know how this works from front to back. You know, I've been in the UK. I've also been in America. I'm also in Cyprus. I know how it works for staffingpreneurs. And I tell you what, it is something which I love to train. I love to teach you how to do this because I've been there. I've been there from the ground and I've worked my way up to multiple 7 figures. And you know what? It is amazing. It is amazing if you do it right. And you know something? What's so amazing now is that you've got someone that's been there, done it for 30 years. I've been doing this I did my own for about 20 years. I was in the States, I was in the UK, I live in Cyprus, I've done it here as well in Cyprus. So, I am the person to come to. If you want to be global, if you want to learn about how to do all of these staffing agencies, then you're in the right place. And I think it's really important that you really take this in and listen because I'm showing you how to build the foundations and get you moving forward in your staffing agency. So, welcome everyone. Give me some hearts, give me some love. Let me know that you can hear me fine. And also, just put in the comments whether you've done your business plan because last week we talked about quite a few things over the last couple of weeks. And I just want to make sure that you're listening and that you're learning. You're going into your dashboard. You're learning about how you can do this for yourself. Because if I can do it, then you can do it too. So join me for week 4. And I think it's so amazing because now we're in a new way of doing things. We've got so many things that we can have at our fingertips where we can learn so much. And today's challenge, which is the 5-week challenge, is week 4, which is learn to build systems, automations, and remote recruitment teams as well. Now, starting a staffing agency, we know it involves a number of steps. And hopefully by week 4, you'll be able to know what steps that you would have done. And today we're going to be focusing on you building systems. And that is about automations, establishing remote recruitment teams. This is a critical stage that you need to be looking at and focusing on to streamline your operation. So grab yourself a coffee, grab yourself a cup of tea. I've got my cup of tea here. Grab yourself some water. Let's get started because today is going to be amazing. And I really want to share so much with you because it is so many things we need to do before we really get running and going with our business, and that is building systems. So make sure that you've got your documentation. and we'll be going through that, don't worry. Your documentation. Start by documenting all your processes, because it depends what type of staffing agency you're going to be doing. So you need to be looking at what processes and what things that you need to think about and documenting. I am always documenting. I've got my journal here. I've got a Word document. Google Docs is really good as well. Okay. So that you're able to create an easy access for you to look at and edit, on a continuous basis, because documents always change. They always move and they always change as you realize that you've perhaps missed something or that you're adding something to what you've got as your documentation. So your documentation is key. And this is where you'll be documenting your processes. What type of staff are you going to have? Okay, so you've got the staff members, but what are they going to do? What do they need to be doing in the day to ensure that work is being done for your organization? Because if things aren't documented, then things will just get pushed to one side and it won't become relevant, and you will end up slowing your business down to a rate that you're not going to actually move forward, and you don't want that to happen. So what you need to ensure is that you are documenting every process, every job, every item that needs to be in your business. You need to document it. So let's look at your team that you're going to have. Who is it you're going to have in? It's going to be yourself as the director. So what jobs will you as the director do? What are you responsible for? Well, that is, you're responsible for earning money for your business, right? But you got to also look at where and who you're going to be approaching to get your work for your business. And we're going to be covering this in the last part as well. Okay. So like I said, use your Google Docs. Now, what team members will you have to help you in your business? Because whatever job titles they are, you need to also make sure that you've created a list of jobs for them to do, not just a job description, but in a way that you are listing what they do day to day, Monday to Friday. If they're working Monday to Friday, if they're working weekends, what is it they're going to do? What will they be doing during that time that they are working for you? Because it's not about them just doing what they feel like doing. It's got to be stuff that you need doing. And the times are so important as well. I've learned this, that you got to put down the times. You've really got to be basic, i.e., they start at 9 o'clock, what they're going to be doing at 9 o'clock. You're going to have a meeting with them daily, and suggest a meeting with them first thing before they even start work. Okay, before 9 o'clock starts, you get in, have a meeting straight away. Right, what are you working on today? This, that, and the other. Make sure that they're meeting the goals of the company, because you will notice that things aren't being done, because you will see that there's no progress as well. So what is it are they meant to do between the hours of 9 and 10? What is it are they meant to do between 10 and 11? What are they meant to be doing between 11 and 12, for example? Yeah, they're going to have a break, but 15-minute break or a 30-minute break is sufficient for someone who is working 8 hours a day, for example. They're not meant to take a whole hour. It doesn't work that way. Okay. So what work is it are they meant to do? So now that leads into the next thing, which is standard operating procedures. This is called SOPs. Now, you need to create an SOP for every routine task. Now, I've got them in my business, SOPs. I've created them for the staff members. Then you need to make sure that someone who is a supervisor is making sure that the work is being done, that for those SOPs that you've created. Otherwise, you've wasted all of that time creating all of these documents. So create your SOP. What are they meant to be doing? What is the goal? How long should it take them? How are they going to report back to you? What work have they done? Have they met the goal? If not, then you need to meet with them Then also you're going to meet with them daily, every 15 minutes, making sure, or the supervisor, making sure that the work is being done. Otherwise, everyone is not doing their job effectively, and it's going to cause your business to not be as productive as it should be. So what are your SOPs? So your SOPs could be, for example, if you've got an administration staff, what SOP is it that you want them to do within your organization, i.e. emails? They're going to answer emails, they're going to respond to emails, they're going to book meetings, for example. What else would you want your admin to do? For example, they're going to also meet with you to discuss any emails that they've received that they feel that they're not able to handle themselves, then they will reach out to you. That is a must as well. How many tasks do you expect them to do in a day? i.e., for example, if you have an administrative person, what task is it that they're meant to do for the day? Do you have a person who's doing your rotas, for example? What task is it that they're meant to do for the day? They're meant to make sure that clients are being served to the highest standard, that you're doing quality assurance, for example, that they are speaking with the staff members going out, making sure that they've arrived on time and making sure things are running smoothly. For example, how many calls did that person do? Were there any calls that were late? If so, why? Did they go off sick? Or maybe there's an issue with a staff member that is constantly being late all the time, and you're noticing because it's affecting your actual business because you're seeing that things aren't being done. So then therefore you start to get complaints. So your SOP is important. Okay. You've also got to look at how big you want your business to grow. Do you want to be a multiple 7-figure business owner, or do you just want to be, under $1 million, for example? So what is your target? Let your team members know what your targets are, for example. You're doing recruiting. How many staff members are you recruiting per week? In your SOP, what staff members is it that you need to recruit? That is important as well. Okay. So consistency in your operations makes training a lot easier. And what I also do and say is that you just do a short video. Do a short video about the training, what it is that you'd like them to do. Yes, you can have a meeting with them one-to-one online, but also do a video, record the video, and just say, this is what I need you to do on a daily basis. You tell them what to do Monday to Friday. Break it down. You've got to break it down to the very basics. You've got to pretend that they know nothing and start from the very beginning. Because if you don't do that, then you will notice that things are going wrong, for example. So ensure that you've created an SOP. I will give you some example templates of an SOP that you can get started with. So the SOP is like what you expect the person to do. You take images of what you expect them to do and how you give them some examples of how they should respond. For example, if there's, you kind of do a flow chart of what it is that needs to be done, and then you branch out, and then you create the SOP, the standard operation procedures that you want them to create. Okay, so you got to create an operational procedure for each staff member. Okay, so the next thing is compliance and legality. Ensure that your processes comply with local and international employment. If you are doing international employment, it needs to be aligned with that, especially when you're looking at recruiting internationally. Be clear as well. Oops, sorry, just dropped my mat. So if you are recruiting staff members internationally, like I said, you need to let them know that whether they are a staff member, whether you've employed them, or whether they are a self-employed contractor, you must separate the two. An employee is not the same as a self-employed contractor. They are self-employed. They manage their own finances. They manage their own tax affairs. They manage their own holiday, for example. They may use a third party that will pay the invoice that they've raised for an organization. Like for me, many years ago, when I was self-employed contractor, I used an organization, and that organization then paid me, and then the organization invoiced the client, and then the client then was paid. Because sometimes when you work for an organization, you're not going to necessarily be paid 30 days on the trot, because when you are self-employed, sometimes things happen. So you have to ensure that you've got the relevant things. So mention this in your SOP. If someone is self-employed, then they need to have insurance in place. They need to ensure that they, for example, they can use a third party to manage their invoices so that they can get paid a lot sooner, which is what I did, for example. Okay. Another thing, compliance, like I said, compliance and legal. So are they a staff member or are they a self-employed contractor? Because those are two separate things, especially when you deal with international recruitment. So will they be working, they're working online via Zoom. Now, this is something which I'm going to be implementing, and I can't wait to do it because I'll then be able to share it with you. I'm creating a Google, it's called a Google Meet, where you can have your team members online, where you can see their screen at all times. That way you know that they're working for you and not working for someone else, but pretending to work for you, or even not working at all. We've really got to get, as business owners, we've really got to get savvy. We've got to get strict. We've got to take this seriously, because some people don't do the work and yet they will charge you for it. But yet you will see in the workload that's being done. So I will highly recommend that you use Google Meet, for example, or you could even use Teams. Teams have that facility as well. And like I said, I'm going to be implementing this for my remote workers as well, because it's so important that you know that the work is being done and that you can see their screen and that they're working on their screen, that they're doing the work for your organization. Because it's not the same as having someone that's working in the office with you, where you can see, you can go up to them and communicate with them. A lot of it, they're working autonomously. You know, you have to trust them to work autonomously, but at the same time, you've got to ensure that the work is being done. And if you've got access to their screen so that you can see that the work that they're working on is for your organization and not someone else's, then that is key. That is one tip that I will give to all of you, that you must do that, because otherwise you're not protecting your company as you should be. Because people, as wonderful as we want to trust everybody, some people will do that to you. Some people will take advantage. They'll go off and go for a walk, or they'll be gone for 2 hours. Instead of working on your business, they'll be working on their own business, for example. So please ensure that you do that for your own safety, especially when you're starting out in business. You can't afford for people not to do the work, because it's not fair on you. You're paying them and they're not doing the work. So implement that. Look at that. Like I said, it's Google Meet. It's also Teams as well. Okay. So implementation, automation, having an automated system is easier for you as the business owner, especially when you're just starting out. You haven't got time to be doing all of these things manually. I would really highly recommend that you look at automations. Look at automation systems. It's going to make things easier for you. Now, what is that? Applicant tracking, for example. Invest in that, because that will streamline your process when it comes to tracking applications, scheduling interviews, maintaining candidate data, keeping it confidential, as well as you've got to make sure that you comply with legal frameworks, i.e. GDPR, data protection laws, etc. But the applicant tracking software is a very good thing to have, because then that way it will streamline your processes. You're not doing things manually the old fashioned way. Start using some of these tracking systems, some of these automations, these softwares, because it will make things so much easier for you as a business owner. If you're just starting out, highly recommend that you use it. I will give you some links as well for the applicant tracking that you can start to use as well. Another thing that is good to use, CRM. CRM software, using customer relationship management software. This helps you to manage interactions with clients, keep track of any placements and automated communication. So for example, if you've given a staff member SOPs, job descriptions to do, for example, for the day, and they've got, say, a list of people that they're reaching out to, then it needs to go on a CRM system. It really does. And I'm saying this from the bottom of my heart. You've got to get that, because how are you going to track what people are doing? Who are they reaching out to? What was the conversation that they had? What was there left to reach out to finish the conversation, to get the candidate or the client to become a client? So what is the communication, the software that's being used? Because the old way is the slow way. And I'm saying that because I'm seeing it myself, for example. So make sure that you get a CRM software in, okay? Because if you're a one-man band, to make life easier for you, then try and get these softwares in, and get them in as soon as you can afford to get them in, so that you've got these systems in place. So whoever it is, the staff members that you do employ, that there is accountability. You can see what is happening. You can see what they're doing. You can see who they've reached out to and where the dates are. Hey, you forgot to reach that person. It will flash back to you to say, such and such didn't call, or such and such didn't reach out to that potential client. So that's the reason why you should get a CRM system as well. Also, it's a good way of keeping track of any recruitment placements. You've emailed the candidates, for example, in your agency, and the candidates haven't responded. You then need to have that reminder to say, hey, you need to reach out to Joe because he didn't send that application as he said he would do. So boom, you send an email out, or you pick the phone up and call. If they're not responding to your email, pick the phone up. Don't be lazy, pick the phone up. Sometimes people don't always look at their emails as well. So have the tracking software so that it will remind you to follow up on candidates, for example. Another one is automated screening tools. So you can implement these tools into your organization where you can automatically screen resumes based on their criteria. This will save you so much time. So make sure that you've got a predetermined criteria, that they must have a minimum of 2 years experience, for example, working in an agency. All depends what level of caliber of staff member you want. If you want premium high staff members, you got to demand the best of the best. So you would say minimum of 2 years experience working in an agency environment. You're not there for newbies. You haven't got time for newbies. Newbies will take 6 months to even a year to train. So you haven't got that time. You're starting out. They need to be hitting the ground running. You need people that, in order for you to build a multi-million-dollar business, for example, you got to have staff members that know what they're doing. If you want to be stuck under $1 million, then you will have staff members that are newbies. Okay, so you've got to be careful. You got to be looking at where you want to be. So you'll have a staff member. You got your staff members, for example. You just started out, so yeah, they're going to get you to 300,000, 600,000, 700,000, for example. But when you're going for the multiple 7 figures, you got to start having some high caliber staff members, so that you've got a really good, strong percentage of experienced staff members. Okay, so I'm telling you this from the bottom of my heart because I want you to be successful in your agency. Okay, so when you're doing your screening, 2 years minimum. What qualifications do they need to have? You need to have a minimum qualification in order for them to join your organization, because you are known for being specialist. You're known for high caliber staff. So then you need to ensure that those staff members have got a minimum qualification that is of the highest standard in order for you to get that staff member out working as quickly and easily for your organization. So are they a HCA, healthcare worker, for example? What qualifications do they have? It all depends whether you're in the States. If you're in the States, then they will be certified nurse's assistant, for example. If they're in the UK, then they're going to have a level 2. Well, I would be going for a level 3, tell you the truth, because I would want the highest level staff member. So I would say you need to have a level 3 in care, for example. And I'm referring to non-clinical staff members. Okay. Now, if I'm looking at clinical staff members, then I will be looking at nurses, for example. I will be even looking at nurses at band 6 and above. That's how high my standards would be for my staffing business. Because like I said, if you want to get the best rates, you need to look at having the best staff members to work in your organization in order to demand the high rates. Otherwise, you're always going to have the cheap rates, for example, because your staff members are not at the higher caliber rate and experience wise. And I'm not saying this to put anyone down, because we all have to start from somewhere. But when you're starting in your agency, you've got to look at getting the high caliber staff in straight away so that you can get them out working for your organization. Otherwise, it's going to slow you down as an organization to get into your multiple 7-figure business. Now, when you get to that level, then you're looking at allied healthcare professionals, you're looking at doctors, etc. Then you're looking at the 5 million to 10 million. Then you look at, really highly skilled clinical healthcare professionals as well. And if you've got staff members that can do international, i.e. travel nurse, for example, agency-wise, then you can demand a higher rate. So think about who it is that you're going to have within your organization, so that when you're doing your screening, you're asking for the right type of staff members to find you, and then they're going to apply for your to work with your organization. Now, they can be self-employed or they could be employed by your organization, but usually when it is a staff in there, most of them like to be self-employed and handle their own finances, for example, and their own tax, etc. Okay, so I wanted to share that with you because that's important as well, that you make sure that you do a screening, because that is so important. Otherwise, you'll get hundreds of applications, but you got to make sure that you've got a minimum, say 2 years. Okay, minimum 2 years, and then you would then list the qualifications that you want them to have. Look at the type of companies that you want to work with and what type of staff members that they are looking for. That is a key tip for when you're looking at your job description and when you're looking at your screening questions. So then that way you've got your predetermined criteria ahead of time, which is going to save you a lot of headache. You haven't got time to be looking through hundreds and hundreds of applications, because you will get them. So if you screen it right, then you'll be fine. So set up automated emails and messages for common communications like interview confirmation, candidate updates, and feedback request. It's so important that you do this, because otherwise, again, you lose track. And you as an organization don't have time to be losing track, and neither do your staff members. So this needs to be really streamlined so that you as an organization will be strong and effective in your recruitment staffing agency. Now, the next section is remote recruitment teams. You want to hire recruiters. You want to hire recruiters who are comfortable working remotely and have a proven track record. And what do I mean by that? I mean, they've got a proven track record of recruiting, that they know how to do it, that they know how to use these softwares, because that will be a telltale sign that they're not experienced if they don't know about these softwares and they don't know how to use them. Another thing that I want to say is make sure that they have internet connection and that it is good, and that the internet is not going to go off for so many hours a day, which is going to affect your business, especially when you're just starting out. You don't have time for that. So be careful of who and the location that you are recruiting your team members from. So they need to make sure that they've got good internet. So you need to ask them what internet speed do they have, and show you and evidence to you. And I'm not talking about the one-off things. I'm talking about things that happen on a regular basis that can impact your business, and it will if it's not under control. So check out the geographical locations, because that's where it can be beneficial for you tapping into various talent pools. Now, don't get the talent from all of the same areas. You got to try and get a diverse locations. Don't stick to the same locations, because you will get the same results. So you need to make sure that you are looking at worldwide, and that you are recruiting, your recruitment teams, for example, are worldwide. Okay, so bear that in mind, because some locations, they have problems with their internet. Internet isn't fast enough. It can't cope with all of these softwares that we have now today. Maybe they have difficulties having so many tabs open on their computer, so their bandwidth is causing an issue, for example. So check the internet, and I'm speaking to you from experience here. Okay. Next part is training and onboarding. Develop a comprehensive remote training program to ensure that all team members understand your systems and your tools. It's no point, it's no point them just using what they feel they want to use. They got to use what you've asked them to use. And I don't mean that they use it for one day and don't use it the next. It's got to be consistent. It has to be every day. This has to work for your organization. Otherwise, you're going to end up not having the workload done according to how you've wanted it. People have got to learn to use software, but they've got to learn to use it right. Okay. Another tool that you can use is Slack. Microsoft Teams. So Slack is where you can, you can add your team members to Slack, and then you can put your information in Slack. Then they put their information in Slack of what they're working on so that you can see what's happening. For example, you can call as well. Lots of things like that. Another one is Microsoft Teams. That's very good because you can just check people's calendars, see what workloads they're doing. Also, in terms of you can call a meeting and you can see them, and you can also see what is on their screen, which is what I'm going to be introducing into my organization so that I can see what is on people's screens. That way you know that they're actually doing the work that you've asked them to do. Or you can communicate Zoom daily, for example. But with, like I said, there's Google Meet, but there's also Microsoft Teams, whereby you can have more control, where you can see what they're working on. Everyone's working together then, and everyone can see each other as well. You can do that, or you can just see their screen and, a little face in the corner kind of thing. Okay, that way people are communicating, like as if to say they're in the office, they can all communicate with one another. You can get the information that you need there and then, not this emailing this colleague and waiting for the colleague to email you back, for example. But there's also Trello. There's also Asana. Asana is very good for project management. So if you've got projects, then you would use Asana, for example. But like I said, the Microsoft Teams is good because everyone can be online. You can have a meeting, say, right, let's do a meeting. Let's do a huddle. What are you working on today? This is the target. How are you getting on? What do you need help with? How can I best help you to do your job effectively so that we are all working together as a team? We've got to work as a team. Okay. So I've just mentioned some collaboration tools for you to think about and to use. Now, the next thing that I want to talk about is performance monitoring. You want to use performance matrix to track the effectiveness of your team. It's important that you do that as business owners, because otherwise you're not going to be able to measure whether your company is growing or whether it is not growing, whether it is shrinking. And that is important. You don't want your company to shrink. You want it to keep growing. So regular feedback, have virtual meetings that will help you to help them to maintain the standards that you've set with your company and improve efficiency. Guys, this is your business. You can't mess around with it. You need to make sure that you've got systems in place and that the team members are working towards the goal that you've set for the company, and let them know that what the goal is for the company, for example. Otherwise, they're just going to work off of their own back. And you don't want that. You want them to work from what you've asked them to do, because you're the one paying them to do the job effectively. Otherwise, they'll end up not doing the work or any work. And you don't want that. You don't want to waste your money for your company and the work is not being done. So, testing and keep testing. What is your feedback loop? You want to collect feedback from both your team and your clients to find areas for improvements. Like for me, for example, I'm meeting with my clients every other week so I can get feedback. I want to hear feedback, positive feedback from my clients. And that's what I've implemented. And I will also get them to fill out a questionnaire as well regarding the team members that they've worked with so that I know who is working effectively and who needs support, or maybe they're not working effectively because they're not doing their job properly. So it's important to ensure that you get feedback, especially when you're running your agency. You've got clients, but you've also got staff members in your office, or maybe they're working remotely from home. So you need to ensure that you get proper feedback from clients to talk about the staff members and to make sure that they're happy with the service that you've got, as well as the company, for example, meeting their needs. So, like I said, you would use this feedback to talk about improvements to your company, introduce new systems in place, have automation setups, and team dynamics. So this will help you when you're doing a performance where you're praising a staff member. You know, this client said that you did really well. Well done. Or this client has mentioned this. There seems to be quite a few clients that have mentioned the same thing. So the feedback may not be great for a particular staff member. So then you have to address that and talk about that to see whether there's improvement for training or whether there's an underlying issue, for example. Otherwise, how can you scale? You can't scale. So think about scalability tests. So every so often, you want to test the scalability of your systems, especially if you plan to grow your agency or enter into new markets. You got to look at what your growth is. What are your goals for your company? Is it growing or is it shrinking? Are you losing? Because if you are, there's a problem there and it needs to be rectified immediately. Especially when you just start out, you haven't got time to be wasting and guessing. You got to hit the ground running and you got to grow. And everyone has got to do their job. Otherwise, it's not helping the company. So what security measures do you have in place? You got to put in data security. You want to implement strong cyber security measures to protect the clients and also your candidates' data. Do regular audits and updates to your security protocols because this is essential to your business. So, remote work security. Ensure that all remote workers follow strict security guidelines to protect any sensitive information outside of the office environment. When they're in the office, it's different because they're there. Everything is contained. The computer is there. Everything is there. But when it's remotely, your company information is on other people's computers. So it needs to be in the software so that everything is in one place and it's protected. So create strict guidelines to protect sensitive information outside of your office environment because that is so important. I hope everyone's enjoying this, what I'm talking about. So as we go into this, setting up your staffing agency, this is all about setting up the backbone of your operations. This will allow you to scale and operate effectively by utilizing technology, which we have now. My goodness, when I started many years ago, we didn't have technology like it is today. I had to plug in a thing in the wall and it would make a dial tone noise. I'm showing my age, but that's how it was when I first started. So, you've got so much here that you can use. The software is so much cheaper. Years ago, when I started with the software, it would be like £10,000, $20,000. Now you can do monthly subscriptions. It's not the price like it used to be. So, like I said, it's the backbone of your operations, and this will allow you to scale and operate efficiently. Utilizing technology and remote teams is effective. It will also save you time, but also expand your reach and improve the quality of your services. So software is key. Yes, remote workers is key as well, but you need to ensure that it all works together in an effective way. Otherwise, it's going to affect your business. If you don't implement these things, if you're not ahead of the type of agency that you want to do, then think about it and look at what software do I need to have in place. I've mentioned if you're doing project management, for example, then you can use, for example, Asana. If you've got software, then get an application tracking system known as an ATS. And that way you can make things run a lot more smoothly. It will be automated. It's like you click a button and it sets a chain reaction off. And you haven't got to be like trying to email. Did you get that email? And then you're following up. Whereas you put these automations in, these systems, it will follow up for you. It will send a responder email like 2 days later. We're still waiting for your application form. Please submit it. You're scheduled for interview on Thursday, for example. It's at 2 p.m. Don't forget to attend. Here is the link. It will be on Zoom or Teams, for example. Please ensure that you click the button to join us. Those are the type of things that you need to be thinking about automation wise, because when you're looking at starting your staffing business, whether you're doing healthcare, whatever staffing business you're doing, automation is key now. Because when you're looking at contracting with organizations, they're going to ask you what software, what tracking systems do you have? They're going to ask you all of these things. They're going to ask you about cybersecurity. They're going to ask you about what softwares do you have in place? What GDPR policies do you have? What compliance do you have? These are all things that you as the staffing company needs to be aware of. And if you don't have these in place, then how can you put forward for a government contract, for example? And next week, we're going to go through the contracting stage as well. But I want you to really be prepared. This is why we're doing this 5-week challenge, because we have got a program, which is a group coaching program, which is for 6 months, that we'd love for you to join us, because then we can go into deeper depth as well. This is for you to really get to understand what is involved when you're running a staffing business, an overview of what's involved and what you need to be aware of. So what is it that you're going to be implementing from week 4, from the training that we provided you with today? What will you be implementing to ensure that you're on the right track for your staffing business? Whether you're doing healthcare staffing, whether you're doing truckers, for example, you're doing driving, you're doing transport, patient transport, whatever type of staffing business you're doing, you could be doing personnel. There's lots of different staffing types of businesses, but you need to have the operations in, you need to have this in on board and look at what's involved and what you need to have involved. Now, if anyone's got any questions, you can drop in the chat here as well, and I will answer them gladly for you. I look forward to the further training that you're going to be having next week, because next week we're going to really delve into some contracts and where you can look at some staffing contracts as well. Whether you're in the States, we'll do the States as well as the UK. So do make sure that you attend. For those of you that haven't started your staffing business, let me know. For those of you that have started, then let me know that you have started and where you are currently at the moment, so that I can best serve you as well. So thank you so much for joining me today. I've really enjoyed today's training, and I hope that you've enjoyed today's training too. Do your business plan. Please do this so that I can see it in the private closed group that we've got, the 5-week challenge. Put your business plan there so that I can see it. I provided you with the template, with the checklist of what should be in your business plan. Maybe you may add things to that, but I want to see some of your work, because I want to see where you are as well. We also need to think about what insurance that you need to have in place, because you need to have that in order to run a staffing business. So what insurance companies are you going to be using? And I will give you that information. Now, I've got a special gift for you all. Those of you that are starting a staffing business, put in the comments that you're starting a staffing business. I'm going to be introducing you to a software for your staffing agency, and it's not going to cost you anything. Isn't that amazing? A wonderful client of mine is prepared to give free software. It is in beta. She's had this software for 12 weeks. Not 12 weeks, 12 years now, for her own agency, staffing business that she's got in the States. And she wants to give that as well to you as well, but it will be free of charge. You don't have to pay anything. So I think it's a win-win situation. So let me know if you'd be interested in that, so that I can also put you forward for it as well, because I think it's important that you look at the staffing software that you're going to need for your staffing business, because at the end of the day, this is free. I'm offering you something which is free. So I hope that you'll take advantage of this. Do drop a link, just drop a comment in the comments here to say software, so I know that you would like to receive a free software whereby you will have your own dashboard. It will cover, rostering your staff. It will cover payroll. It will cover, tracking. It will cover a lot of things. So that's going to be an amazing gift for those of you that are here in the 5-week challenge. You'll be able to have access to the free software. You get it free for a year, I believe. Don't quote me on that. Don't quote me on that because I'm not 100% sure, because I am not the business owner. So do let me know that you are able to, that you're interested in the, oh, hi, Katerina. Hi. Excellent. So you're interested in the software. Thank you. Thank you. So I will get the client to, we've got your email. So I will send to the client your details and she will reach out to you and get you set up. I might actually arrange for her to come in here actually next week as well, so that you can see what it is as well. Okay, would you like that, Katerina? And the other directors here? Let me know in the comments here. Don't worry, this is private. It's just between us and those that are in the 5-week challenge, because I think it'll be good for you to have that software and get used to using it. Hi. Hi, Katrina. Hello. You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you for joining. Thank you so much for joining. It's nice to see people live as well. I know you can watch this whenever you want to. You've also got your dashboard where you can watch that as well. But it's nice that you're here live as well. So thank you so much for being here today. I hope that you've enjoyed today. I hope that you've learned. Please do write things down. Get your notepad and paper, get a Google Doc and start writing things down. I'm going to be putting some templates as well for you, but it's good for you to do some things as well. So it gets you thinking, gets you into that mindset that I'm going to start my agency. If you haven't started already, you need to get started because it is amazing. It is amazing. You know, our trainings, this is a 5-week challenge, but we've also got the boot camp, which is starting next month for the staffing agency, which is brand new for the States as well as the UK. So I hope that you'll be able to join as well. So thank you so much, everyone. And I've really enjoyed the training today. Have a wonderful, blessed evening. Take care. Look after yourself. Thank you. Bye. Bye, everyone.